whether is it really certain gifts and talents that we inherit or from our parents. Is it genetic or is it really the environment and other influences at play? What do you say, Angie? I mean, have
Uh,
you ever, any point in your life, wanted
shall we
yourself in
shall we
such
remind our
influence?
audience about the book club rules before we start?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't have the slides with me. Oh, here it is.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's
It's okay. It's the first time. So
yep.
before we start, I just got so excited about the book club rules. Yeah, before I
So some
rattle on
reminders
because
before we
it's
start, right?
yeah, because it's such an interesting chapter.
Yeah.
Next slide. I'm
All
not
right.
controlling the slide, so next slide. Okay, so some ground rules here. First one is polite questions. If anybody want to raise some questions or anything that you're unclear about in the chapter, you can feel free to bring it up in the chat on our Twitch channel. And mind you, discussions may be deep or not. It may come from any perspective. So just be open to receiving any ideas, and if you have any other thoughts, perhaps keep it to yourself or bring it up later to either myself or Kenji. We want to make this experience, this session as pleasant as possible and that everyone gets to learn. You know, that's what the book club's all about.
Yep.
And finally,
Yep.
number three, you are allowed to share examples of any kind of sharing or experiences that you may have that is related, because that's where the fun begins. You see,
Mm-hmm.
and what am I seeing on my screen? Okay, there we go. So, some of the experiences are quite personal, so if possible, try not to attack them. Or if you do hear something about yourself or you are involved in the story, don't take it too personally. Everything here is done in good humor and with class. That
Yeah. Nice. I love your
yeah,
introduction. Maybe the next time you can do the introductions.
I don't mind. Oh, and
Okay.
now chapter 5. Do I have to say
Yay.
everything again?
So I'll say a bit, okay? So
Oh
welcome,
my God.
ladies and gentlemen, to chapter 5, where greed grows, right? So this is the chapter where we start talking about how greed can grow up, how greed can become grittier, and how we, as normal people, can get a little bit more grit uh, as we go along in life, right? Okay, so without further ado, Ray, it's all you.
Okay, so the chapter, thank you, Kenji, for that nice intro and for reminding me about the book rules. Just want to jump into it because it's such an exciting chapter. So the chapter opens with nature and nurture, and I think I stopped at a question that was posed to Kenji and also to the everyone who's watching this screen. At any point in your life when you observe your friends or observe your brother or cousins, have you ever wondered whether their talents are inherent in them? It's a genetic sort of thing, or have you ever thought that maybe what you're seeing and what they're exhibiting is actually a product of hard work? Yeah.
Ray, I'm sorry, but your mic tends to fall off at certain areas, so we can only hear certain words in your sentences.
Okay. I think the question. I'm going to repeat that. The question to Kenji is, uh, what do you think about this whole nature and nurture, nurture the issue? Actually, I mean, when you observe other people, does it dawn to you that it's a talent that is inherently genetic in them? They inherited it from their parents, or is it effort that they put in?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, right? Because
You hear
a
that?
lot of the time, when we are looking at people um, who are gritty and some people who are not gritty, and then we ask, is it because they are born with it? Like that Maybelline advertisement, right? Maybe she's born with it, right? So when we
I've
look
seen
at
the advertisement.
yeah, they should pay me. When we look at the chapter, right, and he asks us if it's because of our surroundings that makes us gritty, or is it because our genetics that makes us gritty? I think it's very difficult to determine whether it's just genetics or just environment, because I I look at the people around me right now, and I know some people who are in orphanages who grew up together with me and were from orphanages, and some of them are really, really gritty. They are still studying hard, they're still trying to prove themselves. One of them that I know is a bank manager right now, right? And at the same time, you have people in the same orphanage who just don't care. They just don't give a they just don't give a care, you know? They just do what they want. They don't they aren't really gritty, and they don't really hold on to it. So this is a very interesting thing to look at. And then if we look at the book, right? Uh, oh, maybe it's because Angela Duckworth is a scientific person, right? So she comes up with so many experiences about genes and experience in this chapter, like
Yeah, that is not directly related to grit. Yeah, yes, I think
yeah,
Kanji's coming to that actually.
yeah, which is very interesting because you see what she says. She says what she says, whether or not we get grit from our DNA, there's a short answer and a long one. The short answer is in part, and the long answer, well, it's a lot more complicated. she doesn't really
Yeah,
she doesn't really answer that question.
but I think at the end of that entire portion about genes, the main point was that definitely the environmental factors has a big role to play as well. And I think the example that she used is height, because height is definitely a trait that is inherited. So if you come from short parents, then no doubt you'll be short, like me. But coming from my own experience, my elder sister, she's actually taller than me
Oh.
by at least, yeah, by at least a few inches. And so we both come from the same parents, and why is that so? Why so unfair? In other words, so
she
from my understanding, back then when she was young, mother used to make her exercise with the skipping rope, ask her to
Oh,
skip, yeah, for at least 100 times to 1,000 times, something like that. And
wow.
I think that kind of contributed to her height spurt. And not to mention, she did ballet classes as well.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So compared to me, okay, admittedly, I was actually quite lazy. I didn't really skip so consistently, not as consistent or as hardworking as she did. She was a lot more compliant. No way did my I didn't go for ballet classes, and so physically a little bit weaker. I had asthma when I was a child, so I was probably a lot smaller in size compared to most of my classmates at the age of um, 13 or 14. So, and here I am today. I'm too short. Shorter than her. So, if we look on, I mean, looking at that experience, I do think, yeah, to some degree, nurturing, or in this case, these influences do matter. I mean, they do influence, in this case, height.
Yep, yep. So that brings us the curious question, right? There is a difference in height between the both of you. Is there a difference in grit between the both of you?
I think there is some grit, like what we discussed in the previous chapters, that grit kind of manifests in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be for the same thing or for the same interest, but no doubt there is grit to some level, but not in the same context. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should get your sister to do the grit scale and see and see if she scores better or something.
Well, she does have 3 kids. I think that's very, very gritty. 3 boys.
Wow. So then the next question is, does height influence greed? Right? No, I'm just.
Uh, yeah, I don't think there's any correlation in that. But I think the main question here, in fact, in terms of nature versus nurture, is okay. So we know. So now that we know that environmental influences do come to play
Hmm.
in developing a skill or
Hmm.
an interest, etc. What does that mean to us then? Okay, now, like, for example, hi, Atika. I'm glad that you can join us because I feel
Hi,
so much more confident now.
hi. Sorry, I'm late.
Is
It's
Atika
okay,
in?
not to.
Yeah,
Yes, she is.
I
Cool,
just like
cool.
in.
Is
See,
anybody
I can feel.
watching the Twitch stream? Can you
I
guys let
can
me
feel.
know if the Twitch
Uh,
stream is updating because my mouse is missing?
I
um,
didn't do that. We just do a quick check. There's Hid-
um,
there's Hidayah. Hi, Hidayah.
hello, hi Hidayah. I think
Hi
there's two
there.
rays in.
Yeah, there looks like two rays on the chat. Hmm. And because
I have no idea how this works.
I can't seem to find my mouse, so that's an issue for me right now.
Wow.
Um, there, my mouse has found itself. Okay, so wait a minute. Uh, let me, you guys continue the discussion, will you? And
Oh, okay, sure.
I will just try to fix this.
I guess my
What are you
my
guys talking about?
okay, we're talking about the first part of chapter 5, where it's about nature and nurture. So the
Nature
question,
versus.
yeah, nature versus nurture. And my question is, what does it mean to us now that we know that it's not, um, it's like skills and talents or certain personality traits are not just inherited from our parents and forebears, but we can actually choose to develop it. And in fact, the environment comes to play as well. Meaning that if you're not talented in a certain area or field, you can actually choose to learn it, and you can, and if you're in the right environment, you can actually be better than someone who has natural talent in it. So, what does that mean to you? By knowing this, what does that mean to us?
I don't know. When I was reading this, I sort of reminded of my childhood.
Uh huh.
Because growing up, I am very close to this particular cousin. To me, he's very talented. He was the head boy when he was in primary school, and he always selected into allocation speech contest and stuff like that. Whereas it's very rare for me to, I mean, like to be chosen to become like, I mean, like prefect also is like jauh from becoming a candidate and then becoming entering a contest like allocation contest, speaking contest. But my mom always pushed me towards that position. She keep on saying like
Mm,
you can actually do it. You just need training. So
mm,
there was one period of time. I still remember I had to like memorize these 3 pages of speech, and then my dad will be like standing on my side, and then like, okay, you have to eat like this, like this, like this, like this. But when it comes to my cousin, he's like a naturally talented guy, so he'll be like, oh, this is very easy. He can like memorize it in like what 2 hours, and he's like, he's like a pro on the speech already. Well, with me, I have to like, it take time, it take time, it take time. So yeah, when reading like this, right, there are cases where you have like a naturally talented guy, and then there are cases like me, someone my environment allows me to nurture my talent on speech, talent on speech. So yeah, it both plays an important part. I mean, like if you have a talent, you can always excel on it. But if you do not have a talent, I think towards the end of the book is talk about passion also. If you have a
mm,
passion on it, so you will somehow manage to nurture your talent on speaking or something like that.
mm. That's actually a very good sharing. I it's like wow, be good parents actually will actually set speech. I'm also
Mm.
I'm saying that because I'm complete opposite. I like them and in primary school, I sort of have an interest, not to say talent, say interest in storytelling
Mm.
because I always volunteer to go up in front of the class and to just share a story or two, do a storytelling session kind of class. And as a result, teacher noticed, picked me to go for competition.
Oh.
However, all the practicing and picking a story was something that I had to do for myself, and my parents weren't really there to guide me, just help me to present better, or just to practice with them. They know I'm going for a competition, but like there's no special timer with the rehearse. I'm sure that I'll do my best during the day itself to win. So needless to say, I didn't win I didn't win the words, but I got consolation. So when thinking back, felt that okay, I do have that I have that raw skill there. But if it's like refine a bit, probably would have probably emerged a champion or something. But that was missing. So from that, I think yes, both do play a role. To be, both actually do play a role in getting you where you want to go.
Oh,
Mm.
It's happened. It says full speed.
Seems like the camera is like running around, Kenji.
yeah. I thought I fixed it already, and then it went everywhere again.
Yeah.
I thought I was disconnected for a second.
Because
Sorry, sorry.
my share screen got disconnected. Hang on.
Ah.
Um,
Oh.
So yeah, I
But,
think I really like Atika's example just now where um she was encouraged and the parents were there
there we
to
go.
actually help her. And that person who is talented, did he get any guidance? I mean, did we see his parents getting involved?
my cousin. I
Oh,
don't think he has anyone guide him. He just like, oh, go ahead and do
okay, because talent already mah. already
it.
already have talent, so okay, I did mah. I
So
think that was the same thing.
I think that's a very good example of nature versus nurture, right? This guy is
Yeah.
naturally talented, right, to be able to do something. So, how about those that we want to nurture? Have you ever seen cases where you weren't good at something, but you were brought up to be good at it? What about what do you guys think?
It's like suddenly there's this mental blank there. When she posed that question. Um, to be good at it, that would be my ad maths, I suppose.
So
Such a long
maybe I'll give
time
an
ago.
example since I'm the one who
Yeah,
asked the question, right?
yeah.
So what happened to me was when I was young, I suck at cooking. I seriously suck at cooking. I was very bad at cooking when I was younger. But as I grew up and I had more time to practice and more time to burn a few couple of pans and burn a lot of chicken eggs along the way, and end up burning some very dead chickens.
Chicken
uh,
is already dead.
yeah, it was so dead that it became ashes already by the time I was done with it, right? So as I went through that, um, I think I got better at cooking. So now I wouldn't say my cooking is that great, but at least it's better than where I started. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. Better than when I first started. Yeah. Rather than saying I'm master chef right now.
Yeah. But one of my own personal experience that really brought me the difference between nature and nurture is my English. Um, I come from a family that speaks predominantly English. Okay. Uh, my family also has a Cantonese side to it and a Hokkien side to it. But none of us speaks Mandarin. My mom and dad doesn't speak Mandarin. And I was put into a Chinese school when I was in primary,
Ah,
right? So you guys can imagine how it was like. No, I don't. I'm not sure if you guys can imagine how it was like. Basically, it was like I would get homework from school, and I'll have all these words, like all these squiggly lines in front of me. I'll bring them home and show them to my parents, and I might as well be showing them Klingon, you know? It's like, and then I'll go like, Mom, how do you say this in Cantonese? And then she's like, I don't even read this thing, you know? So, so I had a dictionary. I had a dictionary that I read so many times that the pages all came off. That was
Wow.
how I learned my Mandarin, right? And now I speak Mandarin. I wouldn't say very fluently, but I am a translator from Mandarin to English.
Oh, okay. That's a good story.
Yeah. So I really think it's about nurturing talent. So I think grit, just like every other talent, can be nurtured. The curious thing that I have, right? If you look at the book, she talks about the swim coach and Dan Chambliss,
Oh,
who
yes.
swam competitively in high school. And then he said something funny like, "Oh, you know, I've got a physical disability. I cannot plantar flex." Like, wow, what the heck is a
So
plant?
what was that?
Yeah.
Google it. What's a panta? What?
So and and Angela Duckworth said that, because of that, it could be because he had a not so good coach that he doesn't have the resounding success that we link to people with grit. What do you guys think? Is the coach the problem? And if so, how do we find out that the coach is the problem?
Change coach
Hey,
and see if there's a difference or not.
that makes sense. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's the only way. Is like, okay, let's stop this coach for a while and then try this one. See if there's any significant improvement.
True, true. But we know that if someone is gritty, then changing coaches may be very hard for them. Remember, we said
You
that.
mean you mean they want to stick to the same coach regardless?
Yeah, remember when we looked at chapter 4, they were talking about gritty people find it difficult to swap compasses. Oh, I've noticed that, Ray, your mic's feedback starts when you don't speak for too long. It's trying to remind you to lead the chapter.
Oh, it does that. Can you guys hear me now? So
Yes.
I need to keep talking. Oh gosh.
No, I'm just joking. Don't take it too seriously. But yeah, when you're gritty, right, you want to stick to what you're doing and you don't want to give up, right? So
Mm.
In this case, does he want to give up his coach, or does it take a third party to observe and say, let's change your coach and see whether you improve or not? Because sometimes when you're too into something, you're actually not aware that something's not right
mm-hmm.
because we just want to stick at it. So it takes a third party to actually um, notice that.
Yep,
So yeah, that's the other question.
yep. So I think that uh, having a coach helps to train grit, just like everything else. But I also think that it is good to have a third party. That's why there are three of us here.
It's like a QC quality check QC sort of thing. We kind of like watch out for each other's back.
Yeah, so that Kenji
Yeah.
doesn't talk too much,
Hmm? And that Ray needs to talk more, if not the mic will go dead.
right? Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else that you want to add? Anything
Um,
to this part?
I'm
Tika,
wondering how you guys know how if the coach is the one responsible actually.
Yeah, that's the
If,
question, right?
I mean, do we base it on the result or do we base it on the person itself?
wow, that's deep.
I mean, it just like because sometimes if you trust the coach, right, you're just gonna trust him fully, I
Blindly.
guess. Yeah, blindly. And then in that the swimmer case, he just trusts the coach. Like the coach say he got this anti effect and something, right? But the minute he changed coach, somehow like can do that
Miracles.
differently. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, do we base it on the result or do we base it on something else?
What do you think, Ray?
I think it's both. I think it's results. That's one thing, and on the person himself, if he's really gritty and wants to push himself and walk the extra mile, I don't think he will say no to trying a different method of coaching. He'll be more open in
Mm.
receiving open in receiving other methods of learning. That is one perspective to look at. Like in my case, in terms of music, because I've been in it for about 10 years already, and I did went through different teachers, so to speak. There will come a time when uh, I mean, for me, there did came a time when I realized that this teacher is not taking me further than I want to. It has reached a certain limit, and I want to learn newer things. That's when that's when I decided to make the change. So it could be the
Mm.
same for this person again, but I don't remember the details. Yeah, it could be the same for him. He always realized that he's just hit a limit with this coach. There's no way I can go further.
Mm. Interesting.
So, if that is the case, right, then maybe um, the next question that Ray actually asks, right, if we know that we can do this and we can use our coach, right, so does that mean we can master almost every skill?
Yeah. Actually, what I want to say is having this knowledge doesn't mean that there's no excuse for us not to learn certain
Right,
things
right.
anymore. It's like, I got no talent. That's not an excuse anymore. You can if you want to. You just won't you just won't be champion like what Kenji said. Like, you won't end up becoming master chef, but at least you're better for it. You're better than you were.
Right. I think that's a very important point to make. Right. This was a question I picked up from Ray earlier, and I think yeah, she makes a good point. Ray, since this is your question, come on, go ahead, ask it.
So now that I think Kenji have already put the question across the board. Um, if there's a skill that you think you're not good at, now that you know that it's not just a inherited thing, it's not genetics, it's not just nature, but it's nurture as well. For you then, what does it mean to you? You want to master more skills that you think you're not good at.
Yep.
Actually, I think I will answer this question first if it's a bit confusing to finish. My answer to this is it makes me want to try out more things. It makes me want to take the risk to learn something that is very alien to me and give it a try. Because now I know that talent is not just at play, or neither is genetics. Apparently, nurture, nature, and whoever your teacher, your coach is matters as well, and of course your own self. So yeah, I want to do one. I want to do more new things now as a result.
It's cool. Tika?
Mm, but I think for right now, right? I think most of you guys who know that I am trying to up my skill in running. So I guess yeah, running is always not a talent for me because in primary, I mean like in second in school days, I usually avoid any sports activities.
Same.
Yeah,
Not
I
that
would rather
like
yeah, I was like, no, even like during sports day also, I'll be like in a marching band or in like behind the scene. I would not even join the running and everything. But right now, right, I mean like towards like my later years, I find that running is not you don't need to be very athletic to do it. If you really have an interest on it, you can just go ahead. I mean, you can run slow, you can run fast, doesn't matter as long as you do it. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's my answer for that.
That's cool.
a
On my
very good
side,
one too.
yeah. So on my side, I follow this blog called The Art of Manliness, and it came up with an article a while back called the T-shaped life. Uh, what that means is that as a man, you should have knowledge in a lot of matters, okay, but you should have very in-depth knowledge in a few matters. So then your skill looks like a T, you know, it's like T, and then the middle there you will have a lot that. So everything you can know a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, but you should have something that you know in depth. You should have
Mm.
something that you have
Ah.
known more.
That's a good model, actually. I like that.
Mm.
Yeah, I really love that model because I think the idea of being um, how to say, being able to know exactly uh, this much about every subject makes you makes you lost and confused sometimes because you
That's
know too
right.
much about too many things, right? But being able to know a little bit about everything and being humble enough to know that you know a little bit about everything but a lot about one thing not only makes you humble but it also makes you confident that you have a place to stand in certain areas, right? So yeah, I think that's a good question, man.
Okay,
maybe
anything else to add?
maybe not master most skills, but you know, the ability to know. Like me,
Yeah.
can you cook? Yes, I can. You know,
Um,
can you
Can you
sing?
sew? Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Can you sew me a dress? Maybe not.
Maybe not. No. I can mend you a button. I can mend a button.
Yeah, I can mend you a button. I can stitch your name onto something, but sew you a wedding dress? Maybe not. You know.
No.
Right? But ask me any question about health, and I'm pretty sure I can answer you. You know. Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay.
Send us that article.
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
would like to know.
Sorry, Ray.
Okay,
What was that?
send us that article.
Send you that article. Sure, sure.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting. All right, thank you. I think in the interest of time, let us move on to the next part. We still have quite a few to cover actually. Right. The next part it talks about the Flynn effect.
Yeah, I like
Are we
this
gonna
question.
Yeah, are we gonna bring that up on the screen, the page where the Flynn effect is, or not?
You want me to show the page?
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be.
Let me.
Well, yeah, what Henry is tinkering, just give a very quick summary. The Flynn effect comes from a social scientist from New Zealand called, his name is Jim Flynn, who uh, had some stuff who discovered some startling revelations about the IQ scores of both adults and children over the past century. And to cut a long story short, he noticed that the IQ scores have been changing over the past century. Like, I'm getting a little bit confused here now.
So, the Flynn effect is about people getting smarter over the course of time.
Something like that. Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
That's the
Mm.
simple way to put it.
Summarize way of putting it. Yeah.
I am
Well,
so not doing Jim Flynn any justice, but
well, okay, that's one of the reasons why I find the thing in this book a little bit hard for me to get engaged in because there's a lot of waffle between, as I would call it. But the kind of shot is like people are getting smart over time.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like just speak English, man.
Yes. Okay.
Which is something that I see a lot, right? I think kids nowadays, like my friend's 3 year old, 2.5 year old, 3 year old son is able to like unlock his phone and turn on YouTube by himself. Like
Wow.
even if he
Yeah.
even if he sets the pin number, the kid's still able to unlock it via pin number. The only way he cannot unlock it is by the what's the word for it? The
Biometrics.
yeah, the biometrics.
Oh, my nephew can do that.
Wow.
He purposely go to his dad and then ask him to, hula the tangan, and then he just like, oh, okay, now I got your.
Like
They learn quickly. Just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the thing about smartphones is that it's so intuitively designed that even a 3-year-old can master it and unlock your phone.
yeah, it's
One of the
Yeah.
crazy.
selling point.
It's so crazy, you know. So kids nowadays are really getting smarter. They really are getting smarter.
Indeed, they are. And I think what's interesting about the Flynn Effect that I've read is if you were to put uh, a person back in the last no, no, back in the last century and have them take an IQ test now, then they probably wouldn't score high.
Yeah,
Is that
they'll probably score really low.
yeah?
Un-
Like it says here, they will score. If you take people from centuries ago and do an today's IQ test, they will score a 70, which is seen as borderline mentally.
yeah. Borderline mentally retarded, right? They will have Down syndrome or something, you know.
That's right. And if you take the people of today and throw them back a century ago to take an IQ test, they will score 130, which is genius.
Yeah, we'll be geniuses. So I think this is a good point, you know. I think all of us, okay, should go up to ourselves in the mirror and say, "You're a genius."
You're a genius 100 years ago.
So you know, it's like I'm a genius, you're a genius, we are all geniuses, you know.
Genius.
So the next time any one of your friends feel bad, you go up to them and say, "According to Jim Flynn, you're a genius."
And I think this example actually hammers down the point nature versus nature. It's like, most time, people just got smarter and smarter because they got access to better knowledge. They
Mhm.
have more awareness of what's going on. It's more discoveries made through science and technology. And of course, better education as well. And that's why people are progressively getting smarter. And I believe there's another story here we shared. The rabbit and the question about how rabbits and dogs are. Angie, I think I'll let you talk about this one. It's actually it's actually quite an interesting.
So the story in the book was that dogs and rabbits, are they similar? What are they
Yeah.
similar at, right? And
Mm.
if you ask somebody like in the 1700s, they'll probably be like, "The dogs are dogs, rabbits are rabbits, man. Screw you, you know. I don't eat the dog, I eat the rabbit, right?" Uh,
Yeah.
but in the current world, right? If they ask, is the dog similar to a rabbit? Yeah, they are both mammals, right? You know, or they'll have
Mm.
both have 4 legs. You know, the kids nowadays are smarter in that sense. They are able to link knowledge in that sense. Um, and I think that's part of the nature nurture thing. We just came out of the nature nurture section, and I think it's very relatable because in nature versus nurture, right? If we look at the nature part of it, parents nowadays eat better. We
True.
eat more like brain enriching food. You know, it's like we give kids DHA reinforced supplements. We give kids like DHA fortified milk and stuff like that, right? And then our environment is also better. Nowadays, our kids, what do the kids do? By the time they're 3 years old, they're in school already, right?
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
time the kids are like what? By the time they're 3 years old, they're trying to avoid bombs.
True.
You know, it's not very far ago. The World War II, okay, just ended maybe like 80 years ago. World War One ended about 110 years ago.
It's not long ago. It's not that long. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe 100 years ago, the kids were just running away from bombs, man. You know, they're kids, and kids nowadays are just running away from their parents, trying to take away their smartphones or something. You know. So I think
So
that's a very good example of nature in effect, right? I mean, you ask the fellow, what's the similarity between a dog and a rabbit? The guy's going to tell you, do you know the similarity between a mine and a bomb?
But interestingly, what was said here that if kid, okay, let's say kids today, if they answer the question as dogs and rabbits are similar because they are mammals, they actually get a full score in the IQ test. And if they say, oh, dogs chase rabbits, they get zero for their score instead. So to me, it appears that even the very questions set in the IQ test seems a little bit biased
Mm.
to
In a
those who set
sense.
the questions when you think about it. Because if let's say the answer is dogs chase rabbits, technically that's correct. And if the person is able to think from that angle, doesn't that show a certain kind of intelligence as well? So the next question is, are IQ tests then as relevant as we think they are today?
Yep. I think the IQ tests are not relevant, uh, because you see, we all know that there is one person that stands as a very powerful person in the world, right? That person is called the President of the United States. Okay,
Okay.
and a few years ago, we had a President of the United States that told us to drink bleach.
But
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, he was actively telling people to drink bleach. Uh,
we have not heard of that one. Enlighten
yeah.
me on this one.
No, no, no. I'm not gonna enlighten you on
Uh,
YouTube. No.
about drinking bleach.
Yeah, we can talk privately about it, but I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I don't wanna have anybody start pointing guns at our YouTube channel. No.
Okay.
But that's an
So
example, right? That IQ scores doesn't matter when it comes to determining success. Right? This guy went through a very difficult voting session to become the president of the United States. And there were many instances that people started questioning his IQ. But he was still the president of the United States, right? So that leaves us to understand that your IQ doesn't make you the president of the United States. You can have the 340 IQ, but that doesn't make you the president of the United States. It's what people think of you that makes you the president of the United States. So in the same vein, okay, uh, I think that IQ tests, they are what they are. They are a good way to like measure the benchmark of kids 100 years ago versus kids now. Right? It's a way to prove that the kids now are smarter. But I think the reason why kids are smarter nowadays is more important, because we also want to find that why can we be more grittier, right? Because if you compare, if we go into the next section of the book, sorry Ray, I'm just gonna bring us to the next section of the book. Is that okay?
yeah, go for it. Go for it. I mean, like, we are like sitting at area 11:22, so we got like less than 10 minutes, I think.
No, because I think this book, the sections are very, very interlinked. So
They are. They are. They
Mm.
do flow. Yeah.
yeah, so going from section to section is gonna be quite a headache. And
We
if
got
we,
another 24 minutes, so
yeah,
let's go.
let's go. So if we look at age and grit, right? A lot of people say that the older people from the previous generation are grittier, right?
When I was your age,
Yeah, it's like when I was your age, I would walk
yeah,
500 miles.
yeah, I have to dodge bombs. Make sure I don't get my head blown off when I go to school. Sort of thing.
You know, I actually hear that story a lot from my great grandmother. She was like, when I was your age, I was walking around trying to avoid getting raped by Japanese soldiers.
Wow, that's kind of harrowing.
I mean, but yeah, those are the days, right? Those are a very, very long time ago. So,
Dark ages, yeah.
so are we gritty or are they grittier? What do you think? What does the book say, Ray?
If you want my opinion, I really think that um depending on these, it's not a case of who whether this generation or last generation is more grittier, because each generation faces different types of challenges. so to speak. Like if you look at, let's take parenting as an example. Our parents back then, as in our parents, who are probably now in their 50s and 60s, are they a lot more grittier than the younger parents that we see today? Personally, I think it depends on what were the external influences and challenges of that time. Our parents, in my case, they definitely have to go through like economic recession and things like that. But if you look at your younger parents of today, who are now in their 20s and 30s, they have like things like technology, too much screen time, social media influences, a kid that is born with Wi-Fi connected, on so to speak. So the challenges are a lot more different than what parents would face, let's say 20 years ago. In that sense, they are both gritty, but in different from a different context.
Quite
I,
true, right? Quite true.
yeah,
I mean, back in the day, your days were spent dodging bombs, right? And current moment, your days will be spent dodging advertisements and marketing strategies from social media
yeah,
platforms. It's like, well, you need to be very gritty to make sure that you put down your phone and just ignore it for the next 1.5 hours, right?
actually, yes, it does take some grit to just throw your phone away and don't and give yourself a Facebook detox,
Yeah,
And
can
the,
yeah, sorry.
and imagine telling that to your kid, telling that to a child, no phone for the whole 1 week.
Oh, that child gonna hate you.
Exactly, it's gonna go into depression. Mental health problem comes in now.
I'm gonna make sure that my kids read, man.
Same.
I'm
Join
gonna,
book club.
yeah, I'm gonna make sure they read, man. Like, man, putting down that phone is so difficult, sometimes. Like,
It's scary, actually.
I know friends who spend hours on TikTok. They're so familiar with TikTok, they can exactly tell me what the new TikTok song of the day is.
Holy crap. Okay. I feel so uncool now.
Like I didn't even know TikTok had live when I was when I was that about. Oh, Hidayah did that to her nephew. Wow, you detox your nephew. That's good. That's good.
Wow. You can learn from Hidayah.
Good job, Daya.
Okay. Yeah. So the question was about age and grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me throw out a question. So just now we were talking about the Flynn effect, right? Where the older people seem to be more gritty. They seem to be more mature, right? There's this reverse Flynn effect where the older you get, the more mature you are and the more grittier you tend to be. That's why you see people who are 40, 50 years old, they go like, oh, I don't want to change jobs anymore because, I've already been here for so long. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, you mean that the older people they are not as pretty,
Oh,
based on your example?
the reverse Flynn effect says that the older the person is, the more gritty they are. If you look at the book, okay, let me get the book up. Book, where are you? There we go. Okay, here's a graph showing how grit scale scores by age. Okay, so as they grow older, they reach closer to the 4.0 mark. Okay, the explanation for this data is a sort of reverse Flynn effect for grit, because it is possible that adults in the 70s are grittier because they grew up in a very different cultural era,
Mm-hmm.
or okay, it also could be because they are older now, and uh, you know they don't really want to switch to newer things. They are already used to certain things, so the groove is already deeper and set. Actually, I wanted to spend more time. I want to kind of spend a little bit more time to talk about this part of the book, because I think this is a very big definition in terms of grit. What do I mean? for example, a lot of us we think that our older generations, right, they are grittier because they went through tougher life. They went through uh, walking 5 kilometers to school every day, and they still did it, right? They work under tough bosses, and they still, you know, go to go to work with a smile, you know. I used to know a lady who worked in Sogo in Taiwan, right? She would smile at every customer, okay? And when her boss comes in, wow, the expletives that come out of her mouth, she would curse like a sailor, you know, and I think the sailor would pale just looking at her curse. So yeah, you know, it's her boss is so tough on her, okay, and she's still able to service with a smile. So the question is this: are these people grittier because they are more mature? Are these people grittier because they've been through more stuff? Are these people grittier because of whatever the reason is? What do you guys think?
Me, I think uh, having observed some senior folks like what Henry said, they don't want to change anymore. They rather just stick to what they're doing and they stop learning completely. They just want to retire. To me, that's not a definition of grit. That's just arriving at an age where they just want to take it easy and give up. So there's no reason to be gritty anymore. But whether are they gritty? Yeah, not. I would measure it by how willing are they to try new things or to and to take risk even at that age. That's how I would measure it in these older people. Because yeah, as I said, I do see many senior people who just couldn't be bothered anymore at this stage. They just want to stay where they are. They want to do new things. They don't even want to help people. They just want to live in their happy existence and like, waiting for death to knock on their door or something. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but yeah, that. These are my thoughts.
All right. Tika, what do you think? I mean, your parents are both teachers, right? So so they're definitely going to be very gritty. You need to go through a lot to be a teacher, right? So what do you think?
Well, they are gritty when they were young, I think, because especially my
Yeah,
dad. Because halfway through his teaching profession, he actually took a break to take a master, and then he sort of like, it's not like sort of like leave the family, just like, okay, I'm gonna study further my study. So I'm gonna leave you guys for a while, but I will come back, something like that. But because it happened when I was young, so I barely remembers any of that. I just remember that one day I was in UPM and that's it. Yeah, but my dad always tells me, my dad, I'm not sure whether he's a gritty person, but he always tells me like to find a job that doesn't make you suffer at the end. But I was like, but that is not a definition of a job, because you will like face a lot of challenges whenever you do a job, right? But he actually meant was like, find a job that is like one of your passion, and then sort of like race to it. So yeah, he always kept complaining that why don't I become a teacher? I don't want to become a teacher because I have stress whenever I meet people. So yeah, when it comes to my mom, I'm not sure. Even now, also she has new hobbies, which is like
mm,
planting orchids. She Both of them are retired. My dad is currently enjoying his retirement. My mom is every day looking at my mom, I think, still gritty. I mean, like in terms of old people who never relax at home. She's gonna be like browsing the phone for new places, new orchids to plant. She has a new hobby right now, which is orchids. I think it's now venturing into roses now, because the other day she kept talking about roses. Yeah.
Wow.
To me, that's the definition of it. You're still challenging yourself and to learn something new and getting really engaged into it. I think that's the same with my father-in-law as well. He got really into planting and gardening, so to speak. And then there's my late father who loves to read like Henry, voracious reader. Um, and he just wants to take that reading to the next level by becoming a university professor.
Wow.
He got his he studied masters in psychology and eventually did a doctorate, all at the age of 55 and above. So, in my opinion, he's actually very beautiful in that sense. And he's told me that he will never retire. He doesn't want to retire. He just wants, even if he does retire, he will be reading books and probably like having some young people get around him. He will share things and just keep his mind engaged. So, in my opinion, that willingness to want to keep on fighting in spite of your old age, that's a mark of happiness. Unfortunately, his health was failing, so he left us. I couldn't fulfill that part. But looking back, yeah, there was definitely more.
Yeah, a lot of us who read books end up with very bad health.
In his case, he just didn't care too much about his health.
No,
Guess that would be addressed in the. I think that would be addressed in another part of the chapter.
because we work out our hands, right? We hold the books every day, right? But we don't work out our legs, so we skip leg day every
we,
day.
we skip limbs day and leg day and muscle day.
Okay, okay. Ray, you asked the question on maturity principle. You wanna elaborate?
Yeah, the maturity principle says that you become more witty when as you mature. Is that
Mm.
right? We
Yeah.
develop, we, according to the maturity principle as well, we become more conscientious, confident, more caring, and more calm. And that comes as a result of the life experiences that we go through. So, for all of us here, do you think that is true? Think about your friends, your relations, and people that you generally know. I know of people who, in spite of their age, never really change because in my opinion, how do we tap into our maturity principle? Basically, it has to start with an intention of wanting to be better and wanting to improve ourselves. Then only that change will take place. If there is no desire or intention in you to want to be a better person, what makes you think at the age of 30 you're like that? Fast forward to 70, you're still the same person because in between there is no real reason to want to become better, to improve yourself. Do you get my gist?
Yeah, I do get your gist. I think it's a legit question, and when I saw your question, I started questioning myself. Because when I saw the question asked this, okay, do you notice that the people around you as you grow older get grittier, right?
Mm.
What do you guys think?
Some do, and some just never change at all.
Change.
Right?
In fact, they just continue to stay in their own cocoon. I do have a life example of such a person. That's why I'm sharing that. So, which is why it comes down to: is there a reason for this person to want to improve for the past 10 years? If there isn't any, there's no motivation for him to want to improve. Then he'll just stay the same throughout. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no impetus here.
and
And I
that's
think it's the same for a majority of people, to be really honest.
and that's amazing. You know why? According to the book, if we look at the book, right? If we look at the book, okay, it says that greed and age go hand in hand, right? Okay,
Mm.
and it also says that alternatively, it's possible these age trends have nothing to do with generational changes in greed, It's just how people mature over time, which is where the maturity principle comes in, right? So what I see here, okay, is that most people will change over time, okay. She got a snapshot of greed in younger and older adults. She wanted to try to follow these people in the rest of their life, right? But she also said this: when we change is when we learn something we simply didn't know before. Okay, like there's this girl who went to work. Where is that example?
I think the
Uh,
principal.
yeah, the principal one. Then the
Yeah, that one.
daughter goes to work one. The daughter
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
Yeah.
job folding clothes at the local American Eagle. On her first day, they said, if you're late the first time, you're fired. Then she was like, huh? No second chances? Oh, shit. You know? So she sets her alarms and all that kind of things. When I look at the people around me who are getting older, right? And then they go like, do I want to really study a new subject? Nah, I'm too old for this. Do I want to start a new business? Nah, I'm too old for this. Do I want to start a new job? Nah, I'm too old for that. Is it because they are not gritty, or is it because they have changed? And this thing is something that I feel that is very scary, because as I I believe I'm quite a gritty person. I can stick through quite a lot of pain, and do quite a lot of things, right? But as I grow older, I start to see this trend of not being gritty enough. It kind of strikes me, when I compare myself with some of my younger friends, and they go like, "Oh, I want to try this," and they actually try it, and they hit the first obstacle, and then they go like, "Oh, it's just an obstacle. I'm gonna go through this." And then they hit the second obstacle, and then go like, "Oh, it's just an obstacle. I'm going to go through this." And then I'm looking at them going like, "Wow, I would have given up on the first obstacle because I just didn't want to waste my time." Is it because I didn't want to waste my time, or is it because I'm not gritty enough? What do you think?
Because you have priorities and that you're getting older.
That could be true.
And with that comes self-awareness that our resources are limited, so we better choose wisely
With
each
True,
great
true.
age
day.
comes greater responsibility.
But with older age comes greater pains as well. Great, yeah.
Right? So that's something that I find to be very interesting, because you see, when we grow older, we have experiences. Like I was dealing with a friend of mine, right? And she keeps telling me that, oh, she's changed, oh, she's changed, oh, she's changed. But in my head, right, I'm like, based off my previous experiences with you, this is what you will do if I do this, you know. And I always fall back to that, because there is past experiences, right? Uh, and somehow it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that happens. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why old people are more or less gritty. That, I already know you're going to do something like this. Do I still want to continue talking to you about it? Maybe not. Does that make me less gritty, or does that make me more mature? So
More
grittiness and
mature.
wisdom don't walk hand in hand.
Yeah, maybe maturity. Um, what's the context of it? And do they go hand in hand? There's actually a very deep one, because when you're at an older age, you choose certain actions based on based on your values,
Mm.
and not and it doesn't necessarily means that you are less witty. You get what I mean? Yeah. It could just be because that's your reason, and from your life experience, I don't want to do any of this anymore because it's all sort of bullshit. I just want to focus on what really matters to me, especially when I know each year, each passing year, especially when the 60s or 70s, is like bonus year that
Yeah.
I'm living, you know. Yeah, yeah. So I don't think that is any. I mean, in that sense, that um there is a certain there is some grit to that kind of thinking. Maybe
But
it's a grit. It's grit in a different form now, in not in a way that we not in not not in the definition that we
we
uh
expect.
yeah that we expect that oh you start a new business even at the age of 60 like Colonel Sanders that's great. So no, it's great in a different form now.
No, but I think the ones who are really powerful and really successful at their old age are really gritty. For example, right? Let's talk about Tae Hyung Pao, the public bank guy, right? Okay, he's old, man. The guy's an old man, but he's still trying to make sure that public bank stays relevant. You know, he's really gritty and trying to push through all the challenges that public bank is facing. Look at Lee Ka Seng. Lee Ka Seng is like the richest Chinese guy in the world, right? And he's already really successful, but he's still trying to continue push the limit of what he can do, right? If we look at Gary V keeps telling everybody that even if he's 70, he's still young enough to start a new business, right? If we look at what's this called? Crap, I suddenly cannot remember his name. Yeah, if we look at Lee Kuan Yew, right? That guy is, poof. Oh, or let's look at his best friend Mahathir, right? Mahathir is like what, 3 times my age now, right? And he's still trying to push the envelope of being relevant and trying to stay relevant with politics, right? So
Just a stubborn old man.
you know
That's stubborn.
we can say he's a stubborn old man, right? But he's doing the things that he thinks is important to him, right? And he's
Yeah.
and, and recently he just put out a press statement saying that oh my previous statement about the Malays was something 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 something. I don't remember the details, but you know he's going through obstacles. People question him, and he is still trying to go through that obstacle. You know, he's gritty enough to push through.
He had the mental capacity to stomach all the criticism.
And that is in
And
my
that's great.
opinion really gritty.
Yes.
So I think it is those kind of grit, right, that allows us to really move forward in life and really be somewhere in life, right? Yeah.
Do you really want to? Does being somewhere is it all that's cracked up to be? I know of people who are just contented where they are. They don't need to be anybody. They just enjoy their life and have a
You know about this, I have an example that I think is really really interesting. I had a friend, okay, who lived until he was 87 years old. Okay, when he was 50 years old, he said this. He said, "My goal in life is to be mediocre." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah, my goal in life is to be mediocre. I do not want to drive a fancy car. Okay, I do not want to have a fancy house. Okay, I just want enough for me and my family to live and grow." Okay, and he said, "Do you know how difficult it is to live mediocre?" I said, "What do you mean?" "I mean, it's just mediocre. You can just eat chicken rice every day and be done with it, you know?" And he was like, "No, no, Kenji, no. If you want to live mediocre, it's hard." I said, "Why? What do you mean?" So he used to work in some government department or something like that, right? So when he was 55, the government told him, "Hey, we are increasing the retirement age to 58. Would you like to continue working?" And then he was like, "Kenji, you see, I had to say no to that. I had to say no to earning extra income. No." Okay? Like then after that, when I retired, okay, my friends from the army asked me if I wanted to go start a business together with them, start a cooperation with them. And then I had to say no because I wanted to live a normal life. And when I had not enough money to live, okay, when I have not enough money to survive, all right, I will have to go and ask people for money. And then I would feel bad. And I was like, that's not the way I wanted to live my life. So I had to go back and find a job. And that is tough. And then when I'm at that job, I didn't want to get promoted because I didn't want to become better. So I had to stay mediocre. I didn't want to become a manager. I didn't want to become a director because I just wanted to be normal. Kenji, do you know how difficult that was? I wanted to get a car, right? I can't get a kanchil because the kanchil will break down too easily. I can't get a BMW because it is too flashy. I can't get a Mercedes Benz because it is too expensive. So I end up with a car that's not here, not there. Okay, I end up with a Honda. Alright, okay lah, his Honda damn tahan lah, you know, his Honda lasted him for 25 years.
And for the record, those out there, it's not saying that your car's mediocre.
Sorry, your mic dropped off.
For those who are viewing this, we're not saying that Honda has a mediocre car.
Yeah, we're not saying Honda is a mediocre car, okay? Right? But you know, can you imagine with that? Okay, he got a Honda that lasted him 25 years. And then he was like, do you know how much money I had to spend repairing my car? He could have bought a Mercedes Benz with the amount of money he spent fixing his car. So, living a life that's mediocre is, to me, in its own sense, really gritty. If that is what you want, right?
I'm amused and at the same time it's so insightful. I've never been amused and and feeling insightful at the same time. Okay.
Because
But that means you say that I do know of some people, in fact I think I'm living with one, that has that kind of mindset and it's like, why? Anyway, can you
no, I was just about to finish the guy's example. He wanted to live a mediocre life. So he bought a house, a 2-story house with 4 bedrooms. Does that sound mediocre to you now? A
No.
2-story house with 4
No.
bedrooms?
able to afford a house is already an achievement in Malaysia.
You know what he did? You know what he did? He actually sold that house because he said he wanted to live a mediocre life. He sold the house, okay, and bought an apartment with 3 bedrooms.
What?
Really, and gave the money away to charity.
Wow.
So you know, the tenacity to live a mediocre life. Wow, I'm amazed. Right? So yeah, back to your question about is being successful all it's hyped up to be? Is being mediocre all it's hyped up to be?
It's like looking from one extreme to the other, actually, and not so much of a middle ground.
So I truly believe the old saying that whatever you want to do in life, do it. Do it to the best of your ability. Just do it. Because you're going to have to suffer if you're going to try to be mediocre. You're going to have to suffer if you're going to try to be good. Might as well be good.
Whatever makes you happy as it is.
I'm not trying to, it's not a personal pot shot against anybody. I'm just quoting my friend's example. He died 4 years before COVID. And yeah, his kids, he's got 2 kids who are amazing. One's a doctor who just died during COVID, and the other's a engineer or accountant. I can't remember because I didn't talk to the doctor much. Yeah. But yeah, you know, I think it's not so much about being gritty to be successful or being gritty to be mediocre.
Mediocre.
Yeah, I think it's about being gritty to do what you want. I think so. Back to you, Ray.
And that's where that's actually that's a very good conclusion to the mediocre friend story, because he said witty not for the sake of being successful and not for being mediocre or not being mediocre either, in just doing what you want. And I think that can actually we are sort of running out of time. So what Kenji said actually links nicely to the final part of the chapter actually, which is doing what we want to
Okay.
do, because apparently interest plays a big role when it comes to growing your grid. So, question to Henry and Apika, do you want to continue with the rest of the chapter, or do you want to just skip and come to the main crux of the chapter for today, which is this interest, practice, purpose, and hope?
I think we've got about 10 minutes left uh, for our normal stream so that we can have 1 hour in the stream. So, uh, we were talking about this earlier. Necessity is the mother of adaptation. So, if you want to be successful, your grit is going to push you forward. If you want to be mediocre, your grit's going to
It's
keep you
also
in mediocrity. Right? Uh, that's the story of our lady with the two alarm clocks trying to fold clothes at the American Eagle. And Ray is right. We are now at the end of the chapter where
Okay.
Angela Duckworth actually describes the 4 steps of growing grit, which is interest, practice, purpose, and hope. So I think before we end, we have enough time to run through this. So let's go through this. What do you guys think of these 4 things? Do you think they are relevant to grit?
for me is a yes. You definitely got to like something, be interested in what you are pursuing. If you don't like it, then you're not going to last long. You're not going to last long.
Oh,
Continue to sustain. That's for sure. And practice comes in, goes together with perseverance and discipline. If you want to be good at something, then that's where practice and perseverance and lots of patience come into play. However, having said that, is interest and practice and having all that discipline, is it enough to get where you want to be? And I think that would be a no. If there is no purpose or higher goal to it, then your efforts will falter when things start to get really, really tough. At least this is my experience. And interestingly, after reading this chapter, the component of hope, to me, that's actually something very new.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I didn't know that hope plays a role in out in terms of growth, yeah. Because in every step of the way, when you're pursuing something or when you have a higher goal to pursue, inevitably there will be very tough challenges thrown at you. Not just usually they're very mental challenges like frustration, times when you really want to give up. Uh, I know many things in life try all sorts of methods to try to solve this problem, but it's just not happening. So chances of giving up actually it's very, very high. So yeah, do you say having a higher purpose helps to see through? Yes, it does. However, most important, I think, it's that feeling of hope in every step of the way. It needs to be there. If there is no hope at all, then I think even your higher purpose won't be able to sustain you through. Yeah. I can speak this off screen because it's a little bit more, it's actually more personal to me. Also, I do not wish to share it to the wider audience. But
That's cool.
uh, yeah, but that's why I was able to relate and understand why is it and how hope plays a role. And it is important, yeah. Like, let's take a very simple goal, like for those who are still single and for looking for someone to tie the knot, get married, I suppose. Honestly speaking, I know of a lot of single. I'm also single myself. We don't particularly like we don't particularly like dating. Like who is actually interested in dating the person after person after person just to meet the so-called one? So And is it a goal to get married? Honestly, when during my days, I never really see it as a goal to tie down or to be in a relationship. It was never part of my resolution each year when New Year comes along. Because imagine at the end of every New Year, you know, oh, I didn't fulfill this resolution. I feel really depressed about it. So they said, for most of us who've been on a dating treadmill before, we don't like dating. That's one thing. It's very hard. It's very tedious, very troublesome. No way. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of practice. I guess you can practice becoming a better communicator or fixing well, I suppose. And even that, I find it to be a bit pain. Why can't I just be myself? That sort of thing. And purpose. What's the purpose? To get the relationship to get married, lah. Right. So it's like I feel that it's one of these like for I don't want to necessarily play a role, but I think hope that maybe you'll be less lonely or life will be better. That's what basically keeps the interest or my efforts to keep sustaining my efforts, so to speak. And yeah, I don't think I'm making any sense here actually. Because I can't really use the example that I'm going through right now because it's way too personal. So I'm using something close to it, closest that I can find, which similar sort of point. So that would be dating.
Maybe if you don't mind, I'll step in to help you out here.
Yeah.
When I was very young, right, my father used to tell me this: Kenji, if you want to eat something, you better learn how to open it yourself. Do it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So have you guys ever learned how to open a coconut?
No.
Okay, I still suck at opening coconuts, okay? I'll be very honest with you, right? But the process of opening a coconut, oh, you definitely need a lot of grit, and you definitely need a lot of um, all the four things that grows grit. For example, right? When you're opening the coconut, okay, you must have the interest in wanting what is inside the coconut. If you're not interested in the coconut, you'll be like, what's the point? Right?
You want to taste the coconut because you know there's something good in there.
Yeah, you have to like
Mm.
coconuts to be
Yeah, you
wanting
have
to
to
go
like
through.
it.
Yeah. If you don't like the coconut water or you don't like the coconut flesh, right? Then what the
But
hell
why
are you
bother?
doing? Yeah, you're in the wrong area, right? So interest must be there. Okay? And then practice. Obviously, you're not gonna be able
Persevere.
to open the coconut in one try. Uh, Not unless you're the Hulk or something, you know. You're gonna have to knock that coconut like 3-4 times. If you have a knife, you're gonna have to cut it like 4-5 times at least, and you're gonna have to keep cutting and cutting until you get better at cutting the right spots so that the coconut can actually open properly. Otherwise, you end up like me. The first coconut I opened, right, the whole thing got smashed in. Okay,
And
and
your purpose is to enjoy the coconut.
now, and you must have a clear purpose. Your purpose is, let's say, for
I
example,
want to
your
drink it.
purpose,
I
yeah, your
understand.
purpose is you want to drink it, right? So you're not gonna smash the coconut with a car. You know what I'm saying? You can open the
Yeah.
coconut by just smashing it with a car, right? You can open the coconut by smashing it with a hammer, right? But if you use the hammer, okay, then whatever is inside the coconut is gonna end up in bits, and you won't be able to drink the sweet coconut juice, right? Wow, Hidayah used parang to open coconut. Walao, this one Zina, this fella, right? And then hope. Hope is very important. You have to hope. You know, when you first get the coconut, you have to hope that the coconut water is going to be sweet, because there's no way of knowing that the coconut is going to be sweet or not until you drink it. Okay.
You gotta hope that your efforts will be paid off and that you're getting closer to the coconut. It's cracking, it's cracking.
No, the first thing you hope for is sweet. The second thing you hope for is to not
Right?
chop off your fingers.
Ah.
But that one I didn't
You know, every slash of the coconut that you slash your hand over at the coconut, you're gonna have to hope that your hand doesn't end up chopping something that is not supposed to chop. You know, because have you seen people who try to open coconuts and they are scared? They are scared to open the coconut because they are scared that they will cut themselves. They are scared that the parang will break. They are scared that they will end up, losing a lot of things. This is where hope comes in, right? To overcome the fear of losing your finger, the fear of uh, breaking your knife, the fear of accidentally slashing yourself. You know, nowhere in the world are you going to tell me that the purpose of drinking sweet coconut juice is going to overcome the fear of me chopping off my hand. No way. There's no freaking way that anybody can tell me, Kenji, if you have a good enough goal, your purpose is good enough, you are not scared one. No such thing, okay? You're not going to tell me that the coconut juice is so good that I will be not afraid of cutting off my hand, okay? No such thing. The only thing that tells me, okay, that I can actually cut through this coconut to make sure I can get the juice is the hope that I do not cut off my hand in the process.
The hope that your next strike is the one strike that will open the coconut.
No, the hope that the next strike is the one strike that does not cut my hand off. You see, that's the difference
And
between...
will open the coconut lah.
No. To open the coconut is your purpose. So you're going to get there eventually. You're going to keep striking until you get there eventually. Right? But hope is different. Hope is not to overcome that purpose. No. Hope is not to overcome the obstacles. No. Hope is there to overcome fear. That's what I found. That's what I found in grit. You see, whenever we go set goals, let's say your goal is to learn how to play the piano, right? Okay? Your purpose is clear. So that will drive your practice. You will keep driving the practice. Okay? But, okay, your hope is what overcomes the fear that when you play, everybody is going to say you suck. Because you already know you are practicing because you suck. And your purpose tells you that you need to purposefully train so that you don't suck. But hope is what tells you that you have this chance of playing and allowing everybody to see that you don't suck. That is hope. That is the difference I see between hope and purpose in Greek.
It's hope is more of something to help you overcome the negatives.
I always thought of that.
Both
Yeah,
purpose and
it
hope
looks-
also help that way, but hope is the mental one, purpose is the physical one.
Because I see it more as hope as bringing that every step, every slash from coconut brings you closer to the coconut that you want to taste. That's how I see it. That's how I see it, and not about cutting off my fingers.
Right? I mean, for example,
It's more towards that. I mean, from my interpretation, that in doing this particular action, there's hope that, okay, let's use a very life example of my mortgage. By writing in to financial assistance, my hope is that they will look into my proposal and said, okay, we will extend the moratorium for you. So that's my hope, that the moratorium will be extended and that I will have the time to slowly pay it off once the property is ready. It will be a very life example. So hope to me is coming from that perspective, rather than hope that I won't get thrown in jail or declared bankrupt by what's it called? I forgot what it's called. Oh dear.
by
The
whatever
one that,
financial body.
yeah, whatever the national just so yeah. So for me, hope is more towards moving towards what I want rather than moving towards overcoming something that I fear. Because they say I hope that I won't cut off my hands, that will make me don't want to continue further. That will just feel into my fear.
I think you are right, and I think hope plays an important role in moving us forward. I also think
Yeah, moving you forward. Yeah.
at the same time, I also think that purpose is also there to move us forward. For example, in your moratorium example, if you do not have a clear purpose, which is to extend your moratorium, you wouldn't bother writing that letter anyway.
Purpose is actually not to go to jail.
Right? Your purpose is not to
or
go to
rather,
jail, right?
or rather to pay. Of course, the very high level goal is to eventually get rid of it
Yeah. And,
completely.
and
Yeah.
and the hope that you have in that example sounds like to me that the other person will actually read your letter, will actually read your email. That's the hope.
Yeah, and buy time basically.
Yeah, because no, buy time is your purpose. That's what I see. Buying time is your purpose, okay? And having the guy actually read your stuff is the hope because you can't control that. I think hope, right, comes in for things that we cannot control. And purpose comes in for things that we can control. And interest is the driver. Practice is what makes us move faster. That's how I see these four things when it comes to grit. Uh, for example, right? If you're driving a car, okay, what would your interest be? To be able to drive properly, maybe, right? My interest was to be able to drive like a proper driver for people to respect me as a driver, okay. So practice comes in where I actually put in the time and effort to drive. Purpose comes in where I actually make sure that the car is moving properly, and hope is where people see me and recognize me as a respectable driver. So that's how I see my grit. I don't think you're wrong. I just wanted to explain how I see it.
Okay.
Maybe Atika has a
Yes.
different way of seeing it as well.
Okay. Just before we move on to Tika, I just have to let you know that I have to make a move
Oh
pretty
yeah,
soon
it's
because I
12
have another
already.
appointment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's already 12, so I really gotta go. Um,
So let's wrap
yeah,
it up
my
with Atika's statement and we'll call it a
yeah.
day. Do you have enough time for that or shall we end it here? Ray?
Um, is Atika going to share?
I have my statement is almost the same. I see hope is something positive, Getting hurt is one thing. Because whenever I do my running is I hope I don't hurt my knees any more than now, something like that. Yeah, my statement is pretty short and
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, what is that, Ray?
I said thank you because I'm just really very mindful of the time. When I have a very heavy appointment later, so I need to meditate after this for at least 5 minutes to cleanse
Cool.
cleanse the palate, cleanse the mental palate.
Well, we managed to finish the chapter 5. Yay! Good job, guys.
hey,
Hey, we did. I think it was quite well concluded actually, and then everyone at least will remember the coconut story now.
So I'll stop the stream now. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening in.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for putting up with my mindless rambling for being the
thank
first time.
you.
No, see you guys in chapter 6 next week. All right.
Okay,
Ciao.
bye bye.